Yaakov neder lemor. So, what happens is, as we said yesterday, he leaves his father's house, and last week, not yesterday, I'm sorry. And the other way of learning Vayeitzay Yaakov, as we explained last week, was that just as Rashi says, when a tzaddik leaves a place, Yaakov leaving, it wasn't just a man, his body going out of Beersheba. When he left, it was his whole personality, his character. And we tried to explain last week, it's impossible to imagine the feeling to be around somebody, to be around another gadol, even if you don't talk to him, just to be around him, for people that have a spiritual drive and want a role model, somebody that they can actually look up to. So to be around a tzaddik is an incredible experience. It happens to be that when you go to a place, you go to a convention, and you see a lot of people there with frocks and big beards, so you lose sight of the importance of a righteous man. We're not talking about all those people that are necessarily righteous, but many of them are tzaddikim, but because you see so many of them, they look so similar externally. Somehow it takes away the godless of each individual one of them, but especially when you're around a true tzaddik. So Yaakov Avinu, the Torah is telling us, according to Rashi, Vayeitzay Yaakov, when he left Beersheba, it wasn't just another person leaving. He took something away from that place that was impossible. It was impossible to replace. But by the same token, I said, if that's true, then imagine how he felt leaving his father. He was leaving the face, Yaakov himself was leaving the face of the tzaddik. So Vayeitzay Yaakov, for the people of Beersheba and Achanami, it was a tremendous loss. But for Yaakov to leave his holy father was also an unbearable and painful experience. So leaving his parents, leaving Eretz Yisrael, put him in a state of despair, unquestionably, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted his spirit by showing him this dream, as we explained last week, by Yachalom Yaakov Chalom. He saw the dream of the sulam, of the spiritual ladder, and he realized that God was telling him that the greatness of your personality, as great as it is to be in the yeshiva, to be at home with your parents, to be under the tutelage of these great personalities, your real greatness will really come forward when you take what you've learned in your parents' house and actually put it in practice in an atmosphere of adversity, which is in the home of Lavan. And that's what Hashem was telling him. But then again, we have to realize that there are no quantum leaps. Molecules, quantum leap. Human beings, the sulam, the fact that it's regel mutzavarza, the fact that the leg of the ladder was on the ground. Barosha Magia Shamayim, we explained that there's a mitzvah to climb step by step. Of course, you can't, when it comes to spiritual goals, you can never be satisfied. It's a very difficult thing to understand, but that's what the Torah is telling us, that the height of the ladder was in the Shamayim, and it means you constantly desire to grow. Like Rabbi Yonah says, when it says in Pirkei Avos, Ezu Asher Asamech Bechelko, who's a rich man that's happy with his lot? That is referring to one's material lot. You have to limit your desire for material things in order to free yourself up and to give yourself the full opportunity to develop yourself spiritually. Because at the end of the day, it's one or the other. Either you're going to go after materialism or you're going to go after spirituality. So the Rabbi Yonah says, when it comes to material things, there you have to learn how to be satisfied with your lot. Whatever God gives you. And we're going to see that was really, interestingly, Yaakov Avinu in this pasuk, he said, Vayidar Yaakov neder lemor. So he took an oath after everything, at the culmination of this incredible spiritual experience that he had. In Yelo Kimi Madi, God will be with me, Ushmarani Vaderach Hazeh, and he will protect me in this path that I'm going, this physical, but also this path to adversity, that I'm going to my uncle's house, Asher Anochi Holech, V'nosan li lechem lechol beged lilbosh, V'shafti b'shalom al beis avi, and if God gives me the basics, I will return in peace to my home, V'haya Hashem li le'lokim, and then God will be my God. I mean, considering his plight and his situation, what right did Yaakov over here to make demands? He said, listen, God, if you do this for me, and I get home safely, then you will be a God unto me, right? Seems a little strange that he's putting conditions on his relationship with Hashem, especially when he's in such a vulnerable situation. The answer is it's not that. When he said, if you will give me lechem lechol beged lilbosh, a man that has nothing is dead. Ani chashiv kames. Poor people are like dead people. That's what Chazal tell us. When you're totally dependent on others, and you're unable to support yourself and support your needs. It's one thing if you're sitting learning in yeshiva and somebody decides to help you. That's called Yisachar and Zvulun. That I'm willing to help you learn in order to get some of the merit of your learning. That's a different story. But a person who's a poor socially, he has nothing and he needs help because society needs to help him because sociologically, for whatever reason it is, he didn't have the mazel, he wasn't able to get a job, he wasn't industrious, ambitious enough to do something with his life. A person like that, he's an ani, he's a chashiv kaves. That's what Chazal tell us. And as a matter of fact, when Eliphaz, according to the tradition, that Esav's son came to Yaakov to kill him, Esav sent his son to Yaakov to kill him, and Eliphaz was a Talmud of Yaakov, and Yaakov was able to convince him, take my money, take all my money, I'll be like a poor man, and it's like you killed me. So clearly over here, when Yaakov Avinu said, if Hashem will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, when Hashem will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so then I will be able to serve Hashem. And he wasn't asking for any more than the basics.
But is he going straight to Laban's house now, or is he going to...
He's going to the yeshiva of Shem Be'aver. But it doesn't matter. I mean, he's on his way out. He's leaving home. He's on his way out. And he's embarking on a new life journey. He has to go get married. Basically, this is the typical story of yeshiva bacher that leaves the yeshiva environment. Like I said over on the shir for the website, that there's a statement in Chazal that says that when it comes time to eat the Korban Pesach, so it says, Ein maftirin achar Pesach afikomen, that when you eat the Korban Pesach, like we do on the Seder night, we don't eat any dessert. We don't eat any dessert. You can drink tea.
Right.
You can finish up the 4 cups of wine. Why is that? Because we don't want the taste of the Korban Pesach to leave, and the matzah that we eat, which represents the Korban Pesach, we want the taste to linger. And many interpret this allegorically to relate to a yeshiva bacher's situation. When he leaves the yeshiva, that the idea is the taste, the excitement, the enthusiasm. And it's a beautiful environment. Anybody that's ever really experienced it when they're young, I mean, some people have bad experiences in yeshiva also, but by and large, you're sitting there, you're learning 3 sedarim, you're davening 3 times a day. You don't have nobody's distracting you. If you really want to be an Eved Hashem, you want to really serve God, the yeshiva environment, there are no distractions. Of course, we live in a small world today. There's always, the Yetzer Hara is always busy. But the fact of the matter is, Yaakov leaving his home was like leaving a yeshiva bacher leaving. But the fact of the matter is that still in all, he understood. If he didn't have the basics of life, the basic means to support himself, he's like a dead man. And therefore he prayed to God that, and this was a prayer, he wasn't stipulating that if Hashem does it to me, then I'll serve him. If not, not. What he was saying, his prayer was that if only Hashem provides me the basics in life, I'll be satisfied, because then I'll be able to serve Hashem. And we have to understand also that as far as bitachon is concerned, when you want to trust and have faith in Hashem, so a tzaddik, like David HaMelech, where did David HaMelech get that statement in Tehillim? Belora isi tzaddik neza bezarim avakesh lachem. A righteous man can rely upon the fact that God will provide for him his basic needs. Most of the time, people get in trouble when they want more than that. What we call motorot. Motorot are things which are extras, luxuries, that we don't really need. Now, of course, those kind of things already have to do with what a person is accustomed to. So the fine line between what's considered a luxury and what's considered a necessity. But for righteous people, you had if I have something to wear and something to eat, I'll be satisfied. My grandson brought 3 of his friends over to my house to this Shabbos from Yeshiva. So I didn't have beds for them. I threw mattresses on the floor.
Right.
So these are kids that come from relatively comfortable homes. So I said to them, here you have a schus, al oretz tishon. Like it says, you'll do it once in your life, you'll sleep on the floor. Sometimes they do it in a tent. They take a mattress and they throw it on the floor in the tent when they're camping out. So I said, here you have a schus this Shabbos. You'll probably there it means without a mattress. When it says not to sleep on the floor, it means without a mattress. But he had a little thin mattress, and he slept on the floor. So you have this schus to know what it feels like. You don't have a thick mattress. You don't have a box spring. You don't have a bed frame. It's a taste. It's a taste of.
But isn't that really a true test?
And what?
Because if you live in a yeshiva environment all your life, you're not exposed. You don't have to deal with the adversities of life. But if you take all this knowledge and you're able to then deal with everything, that shows that you are able.
My answer to you is this: if you look at the Gedolim,
right? You
look at the Torah scholars of every generation, right? From the time of the Gemara and even before that, they're like the joke they say, if you go out young, you go out young at 50.
Right.
If you go out ripe at a ripe age, you go out at 70. And you see, most of the time, when everybody's retiring into the old age home, that's when the Gedolim are the most famous.
Right.
That's when they're. So you hear my answer to you? The answer is you're right. But when do you leave? When are you ripe and ready? When are you ready to leave the walls of the confines of the Beis Medrash?
Right.
So they say if you leave at 50, you leave young. If you leave at 70, then you're leaving at a ripe age. So you say, how much time does that leave you? Look at Rabbi Yoshev, 103. Rav Chaim Scheinberg, 103 years old. Rav Stein. These men, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them a blessing of extra long life because they are the people that Klal Yisrael needs. You look at anywhere else in the world and you see an older man running the show. I mean, it's a joke. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got a president that's 70 years old already. You start getting nervous that what's going to happen to him when if he's going to be able to run the country. And we as Jews, we have Gedolim that are making decisions at the age of 100.
I know, because on a personal level, growing up, my mother would always say, my parents gave me the values of how to deal with life. But they always used to say to me, I'm not going to be with you 24 hours a day the rest of your life. Eventually in your life, I'm not talking about being in yeshiva for 50 years, but eventually when you're 70, you're out.
Listen, that's beautiful thinking, and they're right. And they raised you well.
She used to say to me, we gave you everything that you needed to deal with issues and whatever you have to deal with. I'm not going to be on top of you for the rest of your life, because there are some parents that are watching their kid 24 hours a day, whatever. Eventually, those same children have to leave their parents' home.
There are 11 chalakim of the Shulchan Aruch. There are 11 books of the Shulchan Aruch.
Okay.
The largest section of the Shulchan Aruch has to do with how to do business in a kosher way.
Right.
So the Shulchan Aruch starts out, right? What's the first machlokus in the Shulchan Aruch? How do you have to get up in the morning? Did you ever enter your mind that there's a halachic issue about how I have to get up? Here you have the Shulchan Aruch has one approach to getting up in the
Right,
morning,
okay.
and the Ramah is another approach. The Shulchan Aruch is a book that starts from the minute you get up in the morning to the minute you go to sleep.
Right.
And the Shulchan Aruch is based on the Gemara. So you're right. When you're living a relatively uncomplicated life, that's, as they say, quote unquote, an uncomplicated life.
Right.
The decisions, although you may think that your decisions in life were overall quite complicated, and that, to some extent that's true. But imagine superimposing on your life decisions that everything that you do, you have to try to know, are you doing it according to the halach or not?
Exactly.
It's a whole other dimension. It takes years and years and years in order to know if you do, when you want to know, am I living a life of truth? Am I doing what's right and what I'm doing wrong? All I'm saying is that Yaakov Avinu, in spite of the fact that he was highly educated and he was under the tutelage of his parents, and the strange thing about it is, they said, go to Lavan and get married. What did he do? He made a pit stop for 14 years. He said, I'm not ready.
Right.
I'm not ready to leave the yeshiva. He went to the yeshiva Shem and he was 63, and he got out at 77 years old. There you go.
But what is it? What was
Ripe and ready at 77.
But what was the actual difference between the yeshiva that was Shem?
That's not the issue.
Oh, that's not the issue.
That's not the issue. Of course, he learned things there that he didn't learn in his home.
Okay.
But the point of the matter is, Yaakov, at the age of 63, still didn't feel himself sufficiently ready to go out there and deal with the challenges of life.
Wow.
So you say, well, maybe he was a little, what do they say?
Backward?
With behind the ears.
I don't want to
Yeah.
say that. I shouldn't say that.
Of course
a
not.
mama's boy.
Yeah, mama's boy. But we know that that's
No,
the point
I-
I'm trying.
it's
The
true.
point I'm trying to make to you, that more often than not, people leave much earlier than they're supposed to go out, and then when they do that, they get more in trouble than
Because they don't have
they don't have the training
They don't have the training.
and the tools to deal with
The
life.
tools, yeah, the tools is a good word of saying it.
B'shafti b'shalom al beisavi. B'shalom means that Vayah Hashem li lelokim, that God, Hashem will be for me my God, meaning to say, not that the point is over here is, he was praying to Hashem that all his children should be righteous. As great as Avram and Yitzchak were, still in all, each one of them had a child that wasn't so great.
Right.
Yishmael caused the tzaras, and Esav caused this terrible, terrible tzaras. So he said, V'shafti b'shalom, he was praying to God that each and every one of his children should be righteous. And that's when he said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He was able to say that all his children were righteous. Vayah Hashem, then I know that God will be for me totally. Vayah Hashem li Elokim, in the fullest sense of the word. But also, we can understand here too a very important point. The Torah Rashi makes this point in another place in the Torah, that where is Hashem really residing? In Eretz Yisrael. When he was going off to Aram Naraim, he was going to Chutz La'aretz. I'm not a big davener, but I know one thing: the second I leave Eretz Yisrael, when I'm on the plane, I'm already out of in the airspace of Chutz La'aretz. I feel like there's a wall in between me and my prayers. I really feel that. The Ramban says that the mitzvahs that we do in Chutz La'aretz are only to prepare us for when we come to Eretz Yisrael. They're a hefsher mitzvah. Because Eretz Yisrael, as soon as you leave Eretz Yisrael, you're in Artzis HaGoyim, in the land of Tumah. The fact of the matter is, the irony of it all is that what we learn the Torah of Galus, which is an amazing thing. All of our Torah, most people don't learn Yerushalmi. The Gemara that was written in Eretz Yisrael, unless you're already a scholar, like a great scholar, and you want to have a complete your learning your studies of Torah. So then you learn Yerushalmi. So interestingly enough, that in the darkness of Galus, the Torah that was created there is the Torah that we learn. It's the Torah of Galus. But still in all, to compare the quality of God's presence, Maloch ha'aretz kavoda, Hashem is everywhere. But still, Yaakov Avinu was saying, Vayah Hashem li lelokim, no matter what I do in Chutz La'aretz, I can't experience the presence of Hashem. And really, our confusion, the darkness that we live in today is that we just don't have a Beis HaMikdash. People think, it's not going to make that much of a difference in my life. You know why? Because I've been to a Shlacht house before. I can't stand the sight of blood. I can't stand the smell of dead animals. What am I going to do in a Beis HaMikdash? I remember I was walking in the old city parking lot, and when Bluetooth started, and I saw this woman sitting in her car, and she's sitting there looking out the window in the front, sitting in the driver's seat, looking out the window, moving her hands and talking. I thought she was nuts. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't realize I didn't see the Bluetooth piece on her ear. But imagine somebody standing there and talking to somebody and talking in the wind. I mean, it looks a little odd. So you're standing and you're praying to God. You're standing in front of, well, who are you talking to? A lot of people must think that people that daven are Meshugim. They're just talking to who they're talking to. But that's the whole thing. Tefillah is you have to work. And every time that you daven again and again, you work harder to try to feel that you are talking to somebody. That's why every word in davening is Baruch Atah. You address Hashem, Baruch Atah. Blessed are you. You address Hashem in second person in order to try to bring closer to your mind and your heart the feeling that God is right there, He's present. V'eben azos, asher samti matzeva yeh beis Elokim, chol asher titein li aser asrenu lach. First of all, you see an incredible thing here, that the mitzvah of giving meiser, the mitzvah of giving meiser is give you 10%, goes back way back. This is our Makor. This is where it says it in the Torah that you should give 10% of your money to tzedakah. Aser asrenu lach. It's a pasuk in the Torah. Yaakov Avinu did that. And we understand from this also, the Avos did many things that were great. The Torah doesn't mention everything. This, as a mitzvah, stands out because God, the things that Hashem really wants us to know about what the Avos did, those are the things that He says in the Torah. Because, if you had to carry around, imagine, my son-in-law, he wrote a Perush on the Rambam, 5 books, him and another person together. And in it, there's Lamdas, Halacha L'Maisa. It's a compendium of Shas and formulated into Halacha. So after the book was finished, the one of the members in the company that he wrote for picked up the book, the 5 books, and he brought it to the head of the company that they worked for. He said, "Here's Kol Torah Kula. Here is the whole Torah." You know what I mean? As if to say, you have five books here that contain Kol Torah Kula. So imagine if you have to walk around with all the Gemara, you wouldn't be able to do it. Today it's possible to do it. Today you can do it on a disc, you can do it on a chip, so you can have Kol Torah Kula with you. That's the bar line and other things that have so much of the Torah that you can carry with you wherever you go. But in those days, imagine if you had to, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to condense the essence of the Torah into something like this that you can carry it with you. Like it says in the Torah, the Melech, what did he do? He had a Sefer Torah, little tiny Sefer Torah that was on his arm, and he carried it with him everywhere he went. Because otherwise he had to constantly learn and remind himself that, like we say, why do we wear the tefillin? If you don't say this in the morning, you didn't do the mitzvah tefillin b'shleimus. L'ma'an tiyeh Torahs Hashem b'ficha. In order that the Torah should be you should be aware. It should be in your mouths. That's the mitzvah of tefillin. By wearing the tefillin, it reminds you, in the truest of senses, who you are and what your goals and what you have to accomplish in life. So here we understand. That's why the Ramchal in Eitz Chaim says an amazing thing there. He says that if a person wants a formula for greatness, there's a book, the Ramchal, a little tiny book called the Eitz Chaim. So when a formula for greatness, he should sit down every day for 5 minutes and ponder why Hashem loved the others so much, why He loved our forefathers so much, right? And there's a pasuk in Dvarim. Don't think that this is something that you got to look into a medrash to find out the truth of that. The fact of the matter is that the Torah devotes 52 psukim to creation, and then there's another parsha too, dealing with the 20 generations from Adam Arishon until Adam Avinu, and then the rest of the Torah. The rest of the Torah just deals with Adam Avinu and his family. So there's no greater proof. The more space Hashem gives in the Torah, right, the more it indicates what's important to him. The more something has more space, like the Mishkan. The Mishkan has 4 Parshias. The 4 Parshias in the Torah that talk about the Mishkan, and 2 of them are basically a repetition. So we understand how important to Hashem the Mishkan was. So the more space a topic takes up in the Torah, the more important that topic is. But here in Devarim, it says it like so clearly. There's nothing, not a clear statement to understand how Hashem felt about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, unless you don't believe in the Torah. If you think that the Torah was written by a man, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the guy who disseminated the Torah, so then we got problems. But if you believe that God wrote the Torah, so then, incredible pasuk, he says, Hein, I don't see it now, but Hein Hashamayim, Ushmei Hashamayim, Haaretz v'chol asher ba. There's, behold, the heavens, the whole universe, the earth, and everything that's contained in it, all belongs to Hashem, and it's all incredible. It's all beautiful, it's incredible, and it's unfathomable. And yet, the pasuk goes on and says what? Rak babosecha chashak Hashem Elokecha. With everything in this world, there's only one thing that God really loved. This is an open pasuk in the Torah. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And strangely enough, it's Moshe Rabbeinu speaking. He didn't say that about himself. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest man that ever lived, and still in all, he said, who did Hashem really love? These 3 men. So the Ramchal says, based on that pasuk, he says, if you want to figure out how to become great in life, he says, take 5 minutes out of your day and think about why Hashem loved Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov so much. It's a little tiny pamphlet called the Eitz Chaim of the Ramchal. And still in all, where did Yaakov Avinu give his Meiser Geld? Where did he give his Meiser money? Where did he give his 10%? We know he didn't give it to Yeshivas Rabbi Akiva, that we know. But he gave it to the Yeshiva Shem Mever, just like it says, when Avram Avinu, after he fought the wars, he met Shem, right, in Melech Sholem. He was the king of Yerushalayim. He gave him Meiser. So they were in awe. These great men were in awe. That's why Yaakov Avinu went to the Yeshiva Shem Mever. And still in all, Rabbi Victor Miller Zatzal says, look, we see that the choicest of Hashem's fruit were the Avos and their families. So they gave their Meiser money to other yeshivas, but who did Hashem really choose as the apple? And that's something that also is a very important lesson to learn. We can't trailblaze in life a new path. We're not there. All these great Gedolim, Rav Shteinman and Rav Chaim Kanievsky, they know how to live life as Jews. They're the professionals. We have to follow them, but we have to know also that every little thing that we can do to refine it, the fine-tuning of our Avodas Hashem can be so significant. Like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were trailblazers. But even if we can't be, the fine-tuning that we do to make our avodah special, that is also seen by Hashem in His eyes as an incredible thing. As a matter of fact, it says, we know the famous Chazal, that it says, Avram Avinu fulfilled all the mitzvahs the Rabbanan, even the Erev Tavshilin. How did he figure that one out? He didn't have a Rebbe. Some Rebbe came along and told him to do the Erev Tavshilin when? To prepare for when? For Yontif? What Yontif? For Pesach? Here we have the Rashi that says that when Lot baked matzahs for the Malachim, it was Pesach, so okay. There was some concept of Pesach, but it all happened before Yetzias Mitzrayim. So whatever they were celebrating, either they were celebrating Al Shem HaAsid, what's going to happen in the future, or their holiday of Pesach was something else than we're celebrating about. But whatever it was, it says he did Erev Tavshilin. So where do you figure out how to do Erev Tavshilin?
Despite the, just what Barry said, despite the not availability, but the presence of so many guns and weapons in Israel, on soldiers, on police people, etc., I think the homicide rate per capita here is very, very low compared to, let's say, the United States, or some other country. In other words,
they're mainly there for the Arabs.
Yeah, right. We know that, but I'm saying that the presence of all these guns does not seem to embolden people to go out and commit murder or homicide.
No, I just meant that I was completely relaxed and it didn't frighten me.
He's saying that it didn't once he came back in. He felt that, so he wanted to use that as a stepping stone to him. Well, even though right now the concept of karbanos seems foreign to us, but when the time comes, it'll just all, and you're right, it'll just sit right with us. But it's an amazing thing. How did he figure out a mitzvah there of Tavshilin? So it's based on the pasuk that says that in Koheles, God made man straight, Shem asas adam yashar, v'hema bikshu cheshbonos rabim. And we find all kinds of ways we call it in Yiddish, tzemach nadrei. We love to twist things around. We love to twist life around. We love to make life complicated. If you're a smart man and you just try to line up, we call it like the spine. People that have back trouble, usually that's the problem, because they're always, unless they did something, they picked up something heavy. Back problem is usually a sign of somebody that's a little twisted out of shape. That's why when you get back problems. You got to go straight. Hashem, He made man yashar. He made man straight. What does that mean? If you just if you just get in touch with your essence as God made you, you'll figure out everything. All of the Torah will be a natural result of that type of person. But because we do things this way, so we don't grasp what we need to grasp. Now the pasuk goes on and says, after the whole story, very strange. Again, the Torah doesn't waste words. This is Hashem writing. Vayeitzay Yaakov Rakla, Vayelech Artza B'nei Kedem. What's the pshat over here? That he says he picked up his feet and he walked to B'nai Kedem. You got to tell him who doesn't pick up their feet when they start walking. The Torah's got to tell us that he lifted up his feet. What's the pshat? So after everything happened, Vayeitzay Yaakov, his despair, and Hashem showed him that don't worry, I will be with you, and I will guide you, and I will take care of you. He was able, his feet felt light again. You know how it is when you feel confident about what you're doing, and you feel strong and about your mission, and you know you're doing the right thing, your feet feel light. You just feel light on your feet. You're just able to pick yourself up and go. But when you're uncertain, you're confused, you're down in the dumps, your legs feel like they feel like cement weighing you down. And that's how Yaakov, he didn't feel that to that extent, but he was weighed down by the whole situation. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted his spirit, and he ready. And Hashem promised him the same thing. That's why we can never get discouraged, because even when things are bad, I can imagine how it was like for my father and our whole family and everything in the Holocaust. I mean, every day you woke up, the skies were black. Were black. You had nothing to look forward to. It was. How did you live in a situation like this? It's almost impossible to understand. And still, he walked in life. Hashem says, I won't leave you alone until I take care of you, until I fulfill what I promised you to do. And that's how we have to feel. Golus is going to come to an end. Even though Hashem says your children would be like the dust of the earth, will be trampled on. By Yitzchak, they were the stars. By Yaakov, they were the dust. Yeah, Golus was a time when we were trampled. Still in all, at the end, we're going to, at the end, we're all going to smile big time. Vayar, Vinay Be'er Basod, Vinay Shlosh Edrei Tzam Rotzin Oleho, Ki Mina Be'er, Hahu Yashku Adorim Be'evan Gdola Al Pi HaBe'er. Here Chazal explain that this is really a metaphor. If you understand this pasuk allegorically, that all the shepherds were sitting around the bear because they had to wait for everybody to congregate to remove the stone from the well in order to give water. And because the Evan Gdola Piya'er, and what happened? Yaakov Avinu came and he removed the stone from the bear. So the metaphor is Torah is Mayim, and you need a great man to uncover the water that's there to be drunk. And that was Yaakov removing the stone, and Yosef, his son. Yosef was the longest reigning king in our history. It was 71 years. He kept the Jewish people in line in Egypt, didn't allow them to assimilate to the extent that they could have, and because of that, he prepared them for Kabbalah Satorah. So he was like his father in the sense that he removed the stone in order to get to the water in the well, which is the water of the Torah. And also he removed the stone. The stone also represents metaphorically the heart. The heart is stone through his great achievements of mind and character. And he, because of that, he was able, through raising his children properly, he was able to give us the opportunity to drink from the ways of Hashem. Vayomer lem Yaakov achai me'ayin atem. Vayomer mechon anachnu. In those days, everybody was brothers. He said, my brothers. Today, Kol Yisrael Rebim Zelazeh. Jews are brothers by the performance of mitzvahs. We don't have the same brotherhood with Jews that are irreligious. We have to try to be makar of them. But today it's different. When we talk about Jews being brothers, essentially our responsibility are to those that are Shomrei Torah mitzvahs. Of course, the other ones that are irreligious, we have to do everything we possibly can to help them if we can. But our first obligation is to our brothers and to those that are. But then when everybody was B'nai Noach, so he related to everybody as a brother. And one other point that I wanted to bring up, I skipped a few other psukim to get to this because it's an incredible Musar Haskell. I may even talk about it next week again, but it's something that I just wanted to leave this year with today because I've always been troubled by this, and I came to a deeper understanding of this today. Rashi is so strange, we come to the end of the story, and Yaakov meets Rachel. Rachel runs home. She's so excited about her elderly cousin. He's a Superman. He's able to lift the stone off the well. Nobody else was there. He was able to do it by himself. This Superman guy who's educating the younger shepherds about how to be a shepherd al pidin, that they shouldn't sit around and waste time. And she sees these qualities in him. And she herself was industrious. She was a girl who was a shepherdess, which was something out of the ordinary. And so Hashem creates a situation here, al pi hashgacha, where the two of them see each other, they fall in love. He knows that she's his one, and etc. And she goes back to her father, and his father hears the great news. Love, and hears the great news, right? And we know it's a mind-boggling thing when we sit down at the Seder night and we tell over the story. Part of it is we say that Lavan was a Hitler. When Lavan was a Hitler, we'd say. Paro wanted to destroy the boys, right? That's what we say. Lavan wanted to destroy everybody. Lavan was a Hitler. And where does this all come from? That Lavan was such a bad guy. So I can never understand Rashi. You get to the Pesukim, Rachel runs home. She says to Lavan, guess what? Your nephew is here. And the Torah says he comes out and running after him. And Vahi Kishmo Lavan Shema Yaakov, he hears his nephew has come to visit, Ben Achoso. Right? Nice thing. He's a relative. How often in those days did you have a relative that came from Eretz Yisrael? Today it's one thing. You go from America, you get on a plane. In those days, if a relative came to visit, it was a chiddush. Vayeitzay likraso. So he runs out to greet him. Rashi says he thought that he had a checkbook and a big fat wallet with him. Because Maman Huton. Because he remembers back when Eliezer came, right? Eliezer came loaded down, laden with all kinds of goodies. So he figured he's coming out. I got to go greet him because this guy's got a wallet full of hundreds. I'm gonna benefit from this. That's a rotten guy. I mean, you've never met your nephew in your life, and the first thing you think about is money. Vayeitzay likraso. He ran after him. Rashi says, "Vayechabek lo," and he hugged him. When he saw that he came in empty-handed, so he started giving him a hug. He thought that maybe he's hiding the diamonds and the jewels. His wallet's inside his chest. So he gave him a big hug. He thought he'd find it there. And then it says, he sees that there's nothing there. It's all flat. His shirt, there's no wallet sticking out there. Vayenashek lo. So he gave him a key. You ever think about that? We learned this when we were kids. So when we're children, you always have to polarize everything. You have to tell you, Lavan's the bad guy. Like Mr. Sal, you should rest in peace. He used to say to me, Rabbi Weiss, you're like Mr. Clean. You're always sanitizing these guys. You're always sanitizing the bad guys. So I say, when we're kids, you have to know, Lavan's a Russia, Esav's a Russia. You can't say, yeah, well, Esav is a Russia because he came from such a good father, he should have been so much better. The kid grows up confused. When a kid hears Yaakov's the tzaddik, Esav's the Russia, that's how he's got to grow up. When he gets older, then you can already explain to him what it means. But what's going on over here? There's nothing. Lavan, what did he do terrible that all of a sudden the Torah, that the Mefarshim Rashi aspires to him these ulterior motives? So what do we learn from this? A tremendous Musar Haskell. Tremendous Musar Haskell. I'm not going to go into the Mefarshim now how they explain this. But the point is that you have to know there's always two sides of the story. When I mean two sides, I mean there's two sides to the person's personality. It's the part that he projects, right? Like we say, Al tistakel bakankan. Don't look at the container, but look at what's in it. So there's two parts of the person. And this is something that's very, very important for us to know in life. That's why when we talk about the Sulam, the ladder, when the Ramchal wrote the book Mesilas Yesharim, he wrote the Sefer, it's also a ladder. It's climbing step by step. And the first step in the book is Zahiris. Make a cheshbon nefesh. Know yourself. Why? Because sometimes, like Esav, they said about Esav, Esav was compared to the Chazir. Why was he compared to the Chazir?
Because he stuck out his paws like the Chazir,
exactly.
telling him, saying that, look, I'm actually kosher because my hooves are kosher.
So what's the point? What's the point? He deceives himself into thinking he's somebody he's not. That's what the story is here. Lavan was really a nice guy. He did. He came here. He gave him a hug. He gave him a kiss. It was an expression of affection. But Rashi was telling you, don't look at the kankan. Look at what's beneath the surface. When you're looking at the subconscious of this person, maybe he didn't even realize who he was. How Chazal understand that, that's another story. But what you must understand, though, people are here, there's two parts to the person. It's the image he projects and who he really is. So Rashi was telling us who Lavan really was, in the true sense of the word. But the truth of the matter was, when he came there was some sincerity in what he did. He clearly was a sincere person on some level. But in a deeper place inside of himself, and that's something that we all have to learn for ourselves, that the musar of life is cheshbon nefesh, to know where you're at, to know who you are. Because sometimes it's so easy to fool ourselves into thinking, these are great men, great personalities, and Esav still, he tried to project himself, and he probably believed it in himself too. You look at the end, Lavan Lavan at the end comes to Yaakov and says, look what I did for you. He doesn't take any responsibility, right? Until finally Yaakov confronts him at the end, and he calls him a gangster. You stole money from me, you did. What does Lavan tell him at the end? We got to draw a line between us. Make sure you don't take any more wives other than my... He didn't say, I apologize for all the things that I did wrong to you. He walked away still feeling justified. He said, only because your God told me, came to me in a dream and said to leave you alone. Otherwise, what would I do? All those years, 22 years that they lived together. This guy and Yaakov, he was out there watching his sheep and making sure that not one animal would die. And Yaakov said, no matter whether it was Kayetz, B'choref, and it was frost, he was frostbitten out there taking care of it. This guy didn't even recognize it. He didn't even see it. He thought he still was doing it till the last day. He thought he was doing Yaakov a favor, and Yaakov was a gangster that picked himself up and left him in the end without even announcing that he's going. And he was a crook and gangster that took his daughters away without even giving them a chance to say goodbye. He wasn't just saying that. He felt that. As I'm saying, you have to do cheshbon and nefesh. You have to look into ourselves, each and every one of us, to know who we really are, not only what we project to be, but to understand the deeper, because that's what the Torah is really looking at. That's what Rashi is telling us. That's what Lavan really was. Not the container, not the milk container, not the orange juice container that he presented with a nice picture outside. He was a nice guy. Hugs and kisses. What was he really up to? That's what we have to ask ourselves to understand in a deeper sense who we really are.
Yeah.